So today we're going to be talking about building a campus-wide culture of safety and security in events. This is something that comes up over and over again for us, both with our customers and with prospective customers as we're talking to them about what they're looking for in scheduling software and things like that. So we wanted to put this presentation together for you all today to hopefully give you some ideas, some things that hopefully you're already thinking about right now, but maybe give you some other ideas and things that you can put into play in your own operation. So I am joined by a couple of my colleagues here. I've got Dean Evans, who's our CEO. He'll be helping me out with the presentation here today. And then I've got Claire DeGroot as well, an account executive with us. And she'll be helping out as well. So it'll be the three of us here on this today. Now, if you're on this call already, you probably have an idea of what Mazevo is, but just in case this is new for you, Mazevo is a scheduling and event management platform for universities. So it's a way to schedule all of your space so that you know what's going on in certain buildings or around campus. But in addition to scheduling the space, it also helps you manage all the details that go with that. So any kind of room setups, audio visual, catering, things like that. You can even do billing and invoicing out of the system. So it's really meant to be an all-in-one kind of solution, whether you're just using it in a single department on your campus or it's used kind of everywhere. So we do both, including in the registrar's office as well. Classroom scheduling is a piece of what we do in addition. So as far as our topic goes today, I wanted to kind of boil it down to the one kind of main idea when it comes to event safety, right? Because it can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but essentially it's making sure that you have a good communication process in place with everybody that needs to know about your events so that events are vetted appropriately, the right people are involved, the right people know what's going on, and things like that. So we're going to go through, we've kind of got five, I guess you would call recommendations for you today on things to look at with improving event communication when it comes to event safety. And these will be the topics that we're going to talk about. Now, these are just recommendations that we have for you and things that we talk about a lot. But the other thing I want to stress is we're going to be showing these things to you in Mazevo because Mazevo has been expressly designed to support these communication processes and help keep your events safe and things like that. But by no means do you need Mazevo to implement these ideas. So if you're on something else and are currently happy with it or whatever, that's fine. You can keep using whatever tool you have. But we are going to show you these ideas and how they're implemented in Mazevo. So if you are shopping for a new system or want to check it out, you can see how we do these things. So the first idea that we're going to share is, and this one's pretty obvious, it's gathering all the event details up front. So when somebody wants to have a big event on campus, how do you ensure that you're getting all the information that you need about that event in one place? And we're going to show you, usually most universities are going to have some kind of a request process, whether that's a form that gets filled out online or they have something that's integrated into their scheduling solution. And that's what we have. So we'll show you what our request form or request process looks like. The other piece that goes with that is having an efficient approval process. The main complaint that people usually have around approvals, especially if you're a larger campus, is that there's a lot of different players involved and it's really, really easy for things to fall through the cracks. And so having a process in place, usually that's beyond just emails back and forth, is going to be very, very helpful because it's so easy for things to get lost in people's inboxes. And before you know it, somebody didn't know about an event or it didn't get approved or whatever. So we'll be talking about that as well today. The other thing that's really, really important is to have that single source of event information. And Mazevo's got a way, obviously, to do that. And we'll be looking at how we can support that there. Also, when something does happen, a way to report it to people so that the right people are aware that there was an incident and then they can respond appropriately or come up with plans in the future on how to mitigate those things, stuff like that. So we'll be talking a little bit about incident reporting. And then finally, ensuring privacy. So even though it's great to communicate all of these events that you have going on and get people to show up and things like that, there are going to be certain events where it's just not appropriate for the entire campus community to know what's going on. Like, when the president's having a board meeting or other sensitive type meetings or events, right? So being able to control who can see events and what's appropriate to show the campus is also important as well. So we'll be talking a little bit about that. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to my co-presenter here, Claire, and she's going to go through this first point of gathering the event details with a online request form. So she's going to show you the types of information that you should be asking about up front. And I'll go ahead and turn it over to Claire.
Okay, thanks, Bryan. So I'm going to share my screen and think of me as maybe I'm a faculty or staff, maybe I'm a student, but I want to put in a new request. So I'm going to focus on this menu here. So I'm going to click this Add New Request. It brings up this form, and I'm going to say, this is an event name of Dr. Mary Jones, and the type of event, it's a lecture/speaker. And then I put in the organization that I'm associated with, and I'm going to say I'm with the music department. And then I put the number of people. This will help me later on find a room big enough for that many people. So I've got my dates and times. I'll leave that alone. I'm just going to pick a date on the calendar, but you could pick more than one date and they can be random. I'm just going to pick this one. Now it's showing me, I have my system defaulted to the student center. It's showing me space available on this date at this time for at least 125 people. Now, if I want to see what the room looks like, I can click on it. Gives me some general information. I can see how the room can be set, and you can see what the room looks like. So you can have several images of the room for that requester. That one looks nice. I'm going to pick it. I continue on. Now, these are other services that I may need for this event. So I'll pick a few just to show you what that looks like. And here's my list of equipment. Maybe I want an easel. I could put notes in there if I needed to. And then maybe I want this package. I'll continue on. And now here's the list of questions. And these questions come and go. It could depend on how many people. It could be dependent on who's coming, like this one here. Will you have an off-campus speaker? So I'm going to say yes. And then you can have dependent questions. So I've got this here. And then here's my certificate of insurance. Yes, I can upload a file. So I've got my file uploaded. And then since I asked for AV equipment, it's asking me this question. I'll just say no. And then it's saying, do I need additional room set up? I'll say none. But again, you come up with these questions. What else do you need for this event? Once I hit submit, it's going to go to my events. And this is the event I just put in. We have a concept of status. This one's pending. Someone needs to approve that. These other ones that are booked, those are all ready to go. So I'll stop there and let Dean show you the rest of it.
All right. So what I want to show you is our approval process and how we would go in and approve an event. And I'll approve that one. I'll take a look at the approvals that we tie to Claire's event there. So this is the main menu in Mazevo that we're looking at right here. We have a bunch of tools here for people that process events. And we're going to go into this day at a glance. We also have academics here. Reporting, we can do invoicing. Operations is kind of a real-time way that your facilities team, your catering team, AV team can see what they need to deliver and, mark it as completed. And then the secondary approval process, we'll talk a little bit about that. So this day at a glance brings up a dashboard style screen, and it's going to bring up all of my requests that are waiting for me to process in the student center. And again, I can select whatever building I want right here. And so as we see these, they're kind of separated into buckets that based on the secondary approval process that we're going to talk about. So here we've got a couple examples of all of the approvals have been approved on this event. This one's got a denied approval, and then these are waiting for the approvals to occur. And then these aren't even in the process yet. So we're going to look at Dr. Mary Jones' lecture here that Claire just put in and take a look at this. So at a glance here, we're seeing some information on when and where it is. And we're going to go to this approval process right here. And as Claire keyed that in, it triggered three different types of approvals automatically in Mazevo. And there's an AV approval, and there's an attendance approval here that we want anything over 75. We need to get campus safety to look at. And then this guest speaker approval. And again, because she said there's a guest speaker, we need to have that run by somebody. So we'd look at this event and decide, well, it looks fine to us. Let's see if the approvals come in. So what we would do at this point is just go ahead and activate these approvals. At this point, your AV team or your campus safety team has not been notified of this because you want the event planner to kind of look at it and say, yes or no, we can do this. Let's wait for approvals. So let's go ahead and pretend like that's going to happen. We'll go ahead and activate all of our approvals. And at this point, we just sent an email to the AV team, to the campus safety team, and to the approver of the guest speakers. They just got an email saying that they need to go in and approve their little component. So we have three of these that are simultaneously waiting for approval. And if they don't go in immediately and look at these and approve or deny them, they'll get a reminder email in the middle of the night saying, hey, you've got approvals that you need to go and look at. So let's jump back one more screen here and go back to day at a glance. And if we look, we have other options here. We have this approval process. And so here is the approvals. We've now flipped all of the events and we're seeing each individual style of approval and where it's at. So Dr. Mary Jones is the event we've been playing with. It's got an AV approval that we're waiting for. And it's also got the campus safety. And then down here, it's got the guest speaker. So at this point, as an event planner, I'm just going to wait for those folks to go in and approve or deny their particular approval. So the event planner in our world is kind of the quarterback watching all of this go on. So what I can do here, Bryan, did you jump in and do one of those?
Oh, I got the sidetrack there. Let me
That's
go do
okay.
that.
No
So,
worries. No worries. Um, anyway, at this point, we are in a holding pattern and we're waiting for those approvals. If once all of these approvals come in and they would either say pending or denied, hopefully they
okay,
all say,
ready.
okay, here, let me refresh. And so here, Bryan has denied the AV approval. So what's interesting about that is if I go back to that dashboard real quick, all of those other approvals have kind of been put into suspense mode. So the campus safety doesn't have to approve it. It's kind of been hidden from them because this one has been denied. So at this point, if you were in the police with the police folks, you wouldn't see that approval because one denial removes all of them. So if we look at this and say, okay, well, AV was denied, let's go ahead and fix this really quick. Let me just go ahead and select the AV here and remove it. And so now we should be able to continue through the process, and now I could come over to approvals and I could just mark this as well. They don't have staff. We've deleted the request, and now I just want to set this to disregard. And so the approvals for campus safety and guest speakers have now been activated. So that's kind of a deep dive into some of the approval process that we have here. Once all of these come back, you're going to hit the overall approval process here. So this is approving the entire event. And we're going to go ahead and ignore our little pending ones. And we'll just say it's confirmed. And now at this point, all of those other approvals have been taken care of, so to speak. So anyway, that's kind of our approval process in a nutshell. And so I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Bryan.
All right. Thanks, Dean. So yeah, that brings us on to our next point is, let's say there is an incident or something happens on campus and your campus police, campus safety needs to understand what is going on campus right now. And so time is obviously of the essence for that. So do they have one place to go to get all of the information they need about events that are taking place, meetings that are going on, classes, things like that? This is something we hear a lot. Typically, campuses that are interested in looking for a unified solution for the entire campus, this is one of the main drivers. It's usually coming from on high. Somebody, high up in the administration is like, we need to solve this problem. How do we, get all of our information in one place? And so with Mazevo, obviously it is able to handle the scheduling of an entire campus. And what we wanted to do is make it very, very easy for your campus police to get the information that they need when they need it. So we have a couple of ways for them to do that. And I'm going to go ahead and bring that up here so you can see it. All right. Okay, so in Mazevo, we have some reports. That's where I'm going to go first. And right down here at the bottom, we have this consolidated event list. Now, we call it consolidated because the way that you deploy Mazevo can be very flexible. You can have like a single Mazevo system that your entire campus uses and everybody has their schedules in this one system, or you can have separate Mazevo systems for each department. So the student center could have a system, athletics could have a system, the registrar could have a system. But if that's the case, we still have a event list or a report that can report across all Mazevo systems. So if somebody needs that one report that says, show me everything that's going on campus, they only have to go to one place to get it. And so let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to run it for today. That's typically when you would run this. And I'm going to include the private events as well as public. So it's literally everything. And it's just a simple listing of events. We intentionally kept this simple. So it's just got the time the event happens, where it's happening on campus, and who's hosting the event. Classes are also intermingled with this. That's why you see these that have kind of an ID number with a, looks like a course section number and things in front of it. That's a class there. So I can see where the classes are happening, events, and they're all just kind of listed by time. Now, the way you saw me run that is I came into Mazevo and clicked this consolidated event list right here. Well, that assumes I have a Mazevo login. I know how to get to Mazevo. So the way that report is typically distributed is rather than, training your police staff or whatever, giving them a login to Mazevo, instead, you can give them a link to the report. That means they don't even need a login for this. They literally, you can just send them a link in an email or have them bookmark it, have them save it somewhere. They click the link, which in our terms is called a published report. And I have one right up here. It's literally just like this. They wouldn't come in here to do this. They would click just a normal link and they would click this, link that you've given them, and it just runs the report. There's nothing they have to do. It's just click the link and they have a real-time version of the report. And that's important too, that it's real time because, as you all are in events, things can change even at the last minute. So this is the most up-to-date version of the schedule that people are looking at when they click that link that way. So that's typically going to be the way you distribute that information here. We also, for people that do have a login, there's also a tool in Mazevo called the event book. If you are using a scheduling system of some kind other than Mazevo, you probably have a view similar to this right now, but this is another way. So if you did want to give your campus safety folks, access to the system, they could view this in kind of a view only way. Sometimes this is just nice getting that bird's eye view of just, everything going on throughout the day that way. So I can see that. In my case here, classes are represented in a different color from events, and you can hover over these and get, a full picture of what's going on in there. So anyways, that's the real-time information aspect to this and how you would share that. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dean, and he's going to talk about incident reporting when there is an incident and what that might look like. So
Thanks, Brian. Let me go ahead and share my phone. So in this, now I pulled up Mazevo on my iPhone. Well, I thought I had. Try it one more time. Are you seeing my screen, Brian?
no, is your phone locked?
No?
Hmm.
Let me try it again. Oh. All things. Well, let me show it to you on the desktop. So, all right. All right. So we have designed this to be viewed and on the phone. That's what I was trying to show you. I'm not sure why Zoom is not enjoying my phone today. But there's a tool that we have that would be available to somebody that was in operations. It's called File a Log Report. Now, these are reports. Let me do one thing here. I need to give myself permission to this. All right, let's go back. Okay, so we've got this log reporting that we have, and you can have as many of these reports that you want to gather information. So an example of this might be a shift report from your folks in the union that you want to gather, a daily report from. There's also something you could create an incident report here. So I'll just go ahead and pretend like I'm going to file an incident report, and you can kind of see what these are. So again, this would be able to be viewed on your mobile device. So when you create one of these reports, you're basically saying, what are the questions that I want to ask somebody here? So you could ask them what the location is, and I could say it's in the Union, and it's 11:18, at 11 a.m. And what happened? Somebody fell and was campus security called? Yes, right? So now when I hit save here, what can happen is we can send a report out to subscribers of this incident report. So you can kind of manage who's going to get this. You would think if it's an incident and somebody fell or something, you probably want to send that to, your directors and things like that. So this is an example of that. Here's a just so you could see this reporting and what you can do for shift reporting. Again, not applicable to our incident report, but you can have different questions here. So it's highly configurable on what information you want to gather. And so you might have this incident report come in from two or three people on your staff that all saw the fall. And each one of those reports that they file would be sent to the people that should receive that incident report. So, but that's just another tool that we have to manage some of that in the Mazevo. So, and that's all I wanted to show you on incident reporting. I apologize for not being able to get that on my phone. So,
Right. Yeah. And then finally, we have Claire up here. Claire's going to talk a little bit about managing the privacy of your events and what that entails and things to think about there.
Thanks, Bryan. So I'm going to go back into my request piece here, and I'm going to go to this all events. Now you can determine what you want to show on this calendar, and this is a public calendar. So you can give people different access this way. You can give it all access or just a daily view. But this is a list of events that are public. So like Bryan had mentioned earlier, maybe you have a president's meeting you don't want to have on this public calendar. You can mark it private to the administrator on the back end. But I'm going to click on this Baskets of South America. And you can see more details. So you can put all this information on the calendar for someone to view. So I like to show that one. And like I said, you can do all these different options. You could go on a specific date if you were looking for something, if you were looking for a certain event, totally up to you. So that's what I wanted to show you with the calendar.
Right. So yeah, so those were kind of the 5 points that we wanted to just bring up there and things to think through with campus safety. So at this point, I'd like to open it up if anyone has any questions or anything like that on any of these topics or anything else that you have there. Does anybody have any questions? Nobody has any questions for us. I do have a question for the group. Those of you that are, doing events and things like that today, how much does this play into what you're doing now? And do you have any of these practices in place currently that you might want to share with us or with the group here?
Um, my name is Carrie Pratfelds. I do non-academic room scheduling at Pacific University. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I would say that we are using EMS. And so I would say that the two features of this demo that really caught my eye were how the single source can work. And how it looks fairly simple when I think about the different users I have to communicate with.
Mm.
It looks like it has ease of use built into it. So, and it also sounds like different people can have different access points. And I like the idea of sending a link as opposed to a report that's issued at a certain time frame.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, the look and feel is similar to how I process things in EMS, but I'm always interested in having others join me in that process. And this looks like it might be a tool that would take less, what I want to say, education. It just looks like it might be a little more friendly. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. When we designed this, that was actually top of mind for us. I'm not sure if you're familiar with our background, but we're all ex-EMS
Yes.
folks here. So yes. And as you know, I mean, EMS does a ton of stuff. It's really, really powerful and it's great for, campus-wide scheduling. But ease of use is probably not at the top of list for EMS. It's so with Mazevo, it was like, how do we keep that power and flexibility that EMS has, but make it a lot more easier to use and navigate and get around. And that's been a big thing. So yeah, that's what you're referring to there. That's an important thing because we actually found that that's a roadblock for implementing the system a lot of times or getting people to adopt it is that if they find it hard to use and difficult, they're going to resist it, right? And they're going to, call you or send you an email if they can't get in there. So yeah, that's an important aspect. So yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. There, does anybody else have any thoughts or things that they'd like to share? I hope this was helpful for everybody. Right. Well, I know we're a little bit early here, but I don't know. Does anybody else have anything before we sign off here?
I have a follow-up question. Are there
Yeah.
folks out there that have made the jump from EMS to Mazevo that can speak to what that process entails? And or do you all have a sense of, well, maybe each campus is different. Maybe you can't answer that, but do you have a sense of how difficult, how challenging that is?
Mhm. Yeah. So we do have quite a few folks that have switched from EMS to Mazevo. And we do everything we can to just make that as smooth as possible. One of the things that we do is we can actually take your EMS data and we can move it all into Mazevo. So we can take all of your existing bookings and all the details with those things like, all the equipment and the pricing and the customers and the notes and all of that stuff that you have set up in EMS, that all comes over to Mazevo. So that can really speed things up quite a bit when you are switching over. And then we also, we'll work with you individually and help you get everything implemented the way you want. We have plenty of folks that you can talk to, ACED-I folks as well, that we can get you the names of if you want to speak with anybody and kind of see how their journey went. When people ask us, because that's always a common question, is like, well, how long does it take to switch, and what's involved? It usually, I would say, the average is probably about 4 weeks or so. Now it can be a little longer than that, it can be a little shorter than that, depending on how motivated you are and how much time you have dedicated to the process. Summer, a lot of times, is the most popular time to switch over. But I know for this crowd here, where you're all doing a lot of summer conferencing and things, you may be busy in the summer, and that's fine too, because you can switch anytime. But usually people try to time it for the point of year, if there is one, when you have a little more downtime, because that just makes things a little bit simpler that way. But yeah, that's it. And as far as what's involved, I mean, if you're coming off of EMS, a lot of it is data cleanup, and we help you with some of that. So we'll help get rid of some of those old rooms and resources and customers that maybe haven't been used in years and years. That's part of our process when we bring your data over. But there's still things to look at, because anytime you're switching to a new system, this is your time to really look at your processes and go, is there a better way to do this? Or should we continue doing things this way? That kind of thing. So it's always a good point to kind of reevaluate there. But yeah, and the main thing is just making sure you have your stakeholders involved and that they're bought in with this as well. The people who are going to be really, involved with the day-to-day usage of the system, that's important as well. But yeah, does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Right. Right.
Any other questions from anybody on anything? Doesn't have to be on incident reporting or anything. It could be anything. If you want to see other stuff in Mazevo, we'd be happy to show it to you.
we may reach out for a demo on the scheduling portion, the main part of it
Okay.
at some point.
Yeah.
Our team has just switched over several software programs, and we are not going to do it to them again so quickly. But it's something, I mean, we've had Mazevo kind of on our radar for a little while.
Okay.
We've been using EMS for a long time.
Okay. Yeah, great. Amy, your point reminded me I had one last slide to put up here. Let me go ahead and bring it up. So if you do want to learn more, these are a couple of things I would recommend. Our website's gomazevo.com. And if you look on that website, we have a whole resources page, and you can do a deep dive into this particular topic, things like the approvals that Dean was showing you, or the public calendar of events, those kinds of things. We have recorded webinars and videos and things like that on our resources page, blog articles. So feel free to peruse around that if you want to get more into detail on anything. And then, yes, if you are considering Mazevo as a potential of something you want to look at, we're happy to do a demo for you. Those typically take about an hour, and we typically just do it as an introductory kind of high level. We'll show you the basic points of the system, make sure it seems like something that you're looking for, and then we can always do a deeper dive, exploration if you want to really get into it a lot more. But yeah, all of our contact information's up here and everything. But we really appreciate everybody's time today and showing up. I hope this was helpful for everyone, and thank you. And please do reach out if you need anything. So.